Welcome everybody to TradeCast, being beamed to the world from Belia Trading offices in Lima, Peru. My name is Manolo Delgado. I'm Marketing Director here at Belia Trading, and my favorite color is blue. And I also had a dog. Now to the important things. What is TradeCast? TradeCast is a series of interviews with top international executives in all areas related to international trade and business. We aim to address issues such as, and I will go very quickly because I know attention is a very expensive commodity these days. Product development, global sourcing, manufacturing, logistics, quality control, free trade zones, international trade law, shipping, free trade agreements, WTO negotiations, entrepreneurship, and many, many more. Everything related to trade and international business, you will find it here. As for now, we have confirmed guests going from east to west in the world, from such incredible places such as Japan, China, Hong Kong, Singapore, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, India, Turkey, Germany, Switzerland, Spain, Denmark, Brazil, USA, Barbados, Bolivia, Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, and of course, where I'm from, here in Peru. So it's a very international panel. I'm sure you guys will enjoy it. If this is the first time you join us, let me tell you the structure of TradeCast. We will talk first about the person, then we will talk about the company they work for, then we will talk about the present and the future of the subject we are discussing. It will be a bit mixed, I guess, especially at the last two, because present and future will probably overlap, but that's just the reality of our business. And we will close, I urge you to stay until the end, because we will close with a fun and very interesting famous questionnaire by the French journalist Bernard Pivot, called Apostrophe à bouillon de couture. I don't know if I say it well, my French is terrible, but that's the name, Apostrophe à bouillon de couture. In summary, if you are someone looking to develop a career, or you're already in international business for many years, believe me, you are going to want to watch TradeCast. It will be very interesting. You cannot miss it. Thank you, Belia Trading, for promoting this initiative. Let me do a quick disclaimer. Our guests are expressing their personal opinions. They're not talking on behalf of their companies. Okay? And just before we introduce our first guest, let me give you a trade fact. In every episode, we will share with you guys a trade fact. Today, we mentioned that in 2021, the Chinese services sector as a percentage of GDP was 53.1%. So for all of you out there that think that China is just about manufacturing, economy is changing, the country is developing, services is an ever-growing sector in Chinese economy. So without any further ado, let me introduce David Castro. He's the Chief Operating Officer at William E. Connor, and he's based in Hong Kong. For those that speak Spanish as our guests, we will try to jazz it a little and speak Spanish when it's the first section. So, David, qué gusto tenerte en TradeCast. Gracias por estar con nosotros.
No, gracias. Muchas gracias, Manolo, por la invitación. Creo que es importante tener estos foros para discusión y también para compartir experiencias con múltiples stakeholders, digamos así, en diferentes áreas, incluso estudiantes, y pues es dedicado yo creo para todo tipo de persona que quiera progresar al final de cuentas en diferentes ámbitos.
Fantástico, David. Yo te he invitado porque considero, y lo verán con todos nuestros entrevistados, que tú eres un modelo a seguir en esta área. Entonces, nos gustaría empezar del inicio. Cuéntanos un poquito brevemente, esta es la primera sección, hablaremos 10, 12 minutos como máximo. Tú eres mexicano, ¿nos puedes contar un poco dónde naciste y qué estudiaste?
Sí, bueno, yo nací en México, en Guadalajara, Jalisco, originario de Guadalajara, Jalisco. Estudié prácticamente en Guadalajara toda mi vida. Mi papá de Sinaloa, mi mamá de Chiapas, o sea, una combinación chistosa porque es del norte, sur, y pues prácticamente me quedé en el centro. Estudié Administración y Mercadotecnia en la Universidad Panamericana, en sede de Guadalajara. Terminé mis estudios ahí y prácticamente empecé a trabajar una vez que terminé. empecé a trabajar, me conecté primero empecé en Philips Consumer Communications, empecé como Service Assistant Manager, es primer trabajo prácticamente. Y después de ahí contacté a una compañía que es William Connor. Entonces ya en la compañía tengo 24 años trabajando aquí.
Tú
Empecé
empezaste
en
en
México.
William Connor, México.
México. Teníamos una oficina de representación ahí en Guadalajara, que era prácticamente nueva. Esto es en el año 1999. Entonces empecé ahí. Inicialmente lo chistoso, y lo voy a mencionar nada más, porque lo chistoso del hecho fue que cuando yo fui a la primera entrevista fue para la posición de merchandising, right? Y terminé en calidad. Me convencieron en la entrevista por los tipos de clientes que manejábamos, por los clientes, pues yo estaba joven también, yo quería agarrar experiencia. En mercadotecnia mucho te enseñan de cómo proyectarte, cómo vender las cosas a los clientes, como todo hacia, digamos, de la cortina para afuera. Y aquí pues me brindó, cuando en las entrevistas me brindó mucho conocer más de la cortina para adentro, cómo aterrizar tus ideas, cómo materializarlas, cómo al final de cuentas, cómo haces ese balance de manufactura, de creación y lo transformas en algo que puedas vender o que puedas comercializar. Entonces, ese fue mi principal motivación ahí. Y bueno, desde el inicio yo empecé como inspector de calidad. O sea, empecé incluso checando platos y checando vasos o todo para el hogar. La compañía prácticamente se dedica para cuestiones
La parte glamorosa estabas al principio.
Exacto, sudando ahí la gota gorda en los warehousing de las fábricas y todo eso, yo pues haciendo todo este tipo de actividades. Y en los tipos de productos que siempre hemos manejado es todo para el hogar o ropa, ¿no? Cualquier cosa que sea para el hogar en cuestión de retailers, todo lo que es decoración, muebles, línea dura, accesorios, etcétera. Y de la parte de la ropa, pues cualquiera, incluyendo accesorios para aretes, para accesorios de fashion y todo lo que es
Ahora conversamos un poquito de W.E. Connor, pero para mantenernos en ti por ahora, David,
sí.
Cuéntanos un poquito, ¿cuánto tiempo estuviste en México y cuál fue tu primera salida? Porque tú tienes una carrera internacional bastante interesante.
Sí, pues en México estuve alrededor de 5 años y medio trabajando ahí. Llegó un punto en donde yo ya me sentí un poco que llegué a tope, al menos en esa oficina. Y prácticamente hubo una posición que se abrió aquí en Hong Kong. Apliqué desde México para esa posición. No la obtuve, o sea, simplemente fue el hecho de tener la garra de decir, pues voy a aplicar por esa posición por alguien que pues, había dejado un puesto acá que era atractivo. Y pues uno de los jefes vio que yo había aplicado, entonces pues de ahí surgió la cuestión y me conectó, me dijo, oye, pues me interesó que hayas tenido la inquietud, la incertidumbre de moverte y no hay nada ahorita para ti, pero lo tomaré en cuenta. Y al mes o 2 meses, pues prácticamente hubo un proyecto que se abrió en Estados Unidos principalmente, en donde fui a trabajar directamente con los clientes que tenemos por la cercanía de México, como estaba en México y con Estados Unidos, pues nuestros clientes principales, el 90% de Estados Unidos. Entonces, en este proyecto era estar visitándolos y era el proyecto de estar constantemente con el cliente analizando reclamaciones, todo tipo de cuestión del centro de distribución y supply chain. Entonces, pues yo dije que sí, yo dije, bueno, pues no hay problema, o sea, vámonos. Y empecé a viajar, yo ya estaba casado en ese momento y mi esposa se quedó en México y pues yo pues, iba y venía, pero eran visitas allá de como de 4 meses, regresaba 4 meses y regresaba. Después de eso me dijeron en la compañía, bueno, ¿por qué no te vienes ahora a Asia? Prácticamente a transmitir todo lo que es. Sigues trabajando para México, pero vente a Asia. Hay representación en diferentes oficinas, entonces era principalmente visitar Malasia, Indonesia, Vietnam y China. Entonces, pues yo dije, ok, vamos. Entonces llegué a Vietnam, empecé a trabajar ahí junto con los equipos de acá y en Indonesia también, Malasia, etcétera. Y pues llegó a un punto donde la compañía dijo, bueno, pues creo que eres más útil de este lado que de aquel lado, entonces nos gustaría que te unieras al equipo de Hong Kong. Entonces ya en mi carrera, pues al final de cuentas, fui creciendo ahí. Al dejar México, yo era Quality Assurance Manager ahí en la oficina. Dejo México después de los 5 años y medio, y me muevo a Hong Kong prácticamente. En el 2006 fue cuando llegué yo aquí. Y en el 2006, pues empecé a trabajar aquí como Corporate Quality Assurance Manager. Después de eso, pues mi carrera, pues seguí obvio, todo el ámbito ha sido principalmente el área de calidad. Y empecé a, bueno, diseñar procedimientos, procesos, etcétera, en conjunto con las diferentes oficinas. Y llegó un momento en que, bueno, me dijeron, ¿sabes qué? Hay una posición que se abre en India, precisamente en el 2012, que era como Assistant Managing Director de la oficina.
En Delhi, ¿verdad? Estuviste en Delhi.
Sí, entonces me dijeron, ¿te interesa? Pues, pues sí, me interesa, vamos. Entonces me moví a India, pues estuvimos 2 años ahí, fue una experiencia muy interesante, una experiencia increíble. En todo este lapso, pues siempre he viajado mucho, siempre es estar viajando constantemente y eso es lo padre o lo que me ha motivado a seguir también aquí en el trabajo, que es el conocer diferentes culturas, diferentes amigos, así, en el camino, donde, pues al final de cuentas, te enriquece todo, ¿no? O sea, te abre el panorama totalmente, te empiezas tú de una vista cerrada de tu país, de tu ciudad, de tu barrio, digámoslo así, en donde ya empiezas a salir y conocer el mundo realmente, y conocer y otras culturas, el conocer que hay otras formas, estilos de vida, el conocer que hay otras formas de hacer las cosas, pues te abre el panorama al 100%. Ya después de eso, en India, fue un poco un reto por familiar, digámoslo así, más que profesional. Profesional también, mucho, pero yo creo que la sangre latina ayudó por una coherencia con los indios en este caso de decir, oye, pues somos similares en mucha actitud y la
no siempre
forma
para bien, pero sí,
no
entiendo el
siempre
punto.
para bien, pero esa como empatía en ese ramo, pues se facilitaba las cosas en cuestión de operaciones. Entonces, pero familiarmente hablando, pues mis hijos estaban pequeños, entonces fue un reto. La India como tal cada día es una experiencia diferente. Estás ahí.
Cuando
Entonces,
hablemos de sourcing voy a entrar ahí, sin duda. Y volviste a Hong Kong, entonces, sí. ¿Cuándo volviste a Hong Kong?
En febrero del 2014 regresé a Hong Kong. Fue otra vez parte me trajeron otra vez a manejar precisamente la oficina de Hong Kong en todo lo que era el área de ropa. Y después de ahí, pues ya continué desde que regresé a Hong Kong, prácticamente fue en el 2014 hasta la fecha, pues he estado aquí. Me moví de posición, digamos, de Managing Director de Hong Kong, me moví otra vez a Quality Assurance Director del área de Home, después de toda la compañía, Quality Assurance Director de toda la compañía, y pues al final, pues a lo que soy ahorita, que es Chief Operating Officer del grupo totalmente, ¿no?
Fantástico.
Y algo muy importante es el apoyo que siempre he tenido, pues no solo de amigos y todo, de familiares, pero de mi esposa también, en que siempre es difícil que alguien te siga todo el camino.
Correcto.
Te aguante en el ritmo.
Es una vida interesante, sin duda. Eso, para cerrar la parte de persona, David, te hago 2 preguntas bien puntuales antes de empezar a hablar de la empresa. Tú que tienes, me dijiste, perdóname, ¿cuántos años en Connor, en William E. Connor?
23 años.
Tú has hecho mucha carrera dentro de la misma empresa. Me pregunto yo, sí. Uno, ¿qué consideras que es como un consejo? ¿Cuál es la característica más importante que tiene que tener alguien para, digamos, seguir escalando y ser exitoso dentro de una misma empresa donde hay mucha competencia interna? Claro. Y 2, ahora que tienes una posición de alto liderazgo, ¿cuáles, no sé, dirías tú que son 2 o 3 características tuyas en tu estilo de liderazgo que crees que es importante en el manejo de la empresa?
Pues una, yo creo que es es tener paciencia. Siempre, a veces somos muy impacientes, sobre todo cuando uno es joven, tiendes a ser mucho más impaciente y quieres todo rápido, y pues no se pueden las cosas a veces rápido. Hay ciertas compañías que se mueven, pues, de una manera distinta y es aprender eso. Entonces, yo creo que uno de los factores es tener paciencia. Otro factor podría ser el hecho de siempre estar presente. O sea, el no ser negativo, tener esa actitud positiva, el lo que me llevó yo creo mucho acá en la compañía y es el decir que sí. No es que no quiera decir que no digas que no, bueno, pero el decir sí, y puedes decir sí, pero, ¿no? Entonces es donde tú podrías decir sí, pero voy a hacer esto, sí, pero necesito esto, sí, pero me gustaría esto, o sí, pero lo podríamos lograr así basado. Entonces siempre tener esa actitud positiva. Y la otra parte es, bueno, pues no, yo diría que ver qué oportunidades hay en la empresa. Al final de cuentas, cada empresa es diferente y buscarlas. Y cuando digo buscarlas es no esperar a que el jefe o el jefe del jefe te llame o encuentre en ti eso, sino tú buscarlas. O sea, ellos no van a saber que tú estás interesado en moverte, ellos no van a saber si tú estás interesado en otras cosas extras, ellos no van a saber, a menos que tú lo digas y lo externes, ¿no? Entonces, esa comunicación de arriba hacia abajo y de abajo hacia arriba es importante para saber dónde irte colocando y qué aspiraciones tienes al final de cuentas para lograrlo, ¿no?
Y el tema de liderazgo, David, ¿qué consideras tú que es importante cuando eres un líder responsable de decenas o cientos de personas?
Pues yo creo que el liderazgo es con las personas. Al final de cuentas es entender dónde estás con respecto a las personas, o sea, ¿cómo te diría? La empatía, yo creo, ¿no? La empatía, en una simple palabra, es importante. El saber de que tienes personas y familias que están prácticamente, ¿cómo te diré? Que al final de cuentas dependen, ¿no?, de tus decisiones también. Entonces, esa empatía de saber de qué están haciendo, cómo el trabajo en equipo y una colaboración, yo creo que es lo más importante. Una es entender tu equipo, colaborar con ellos, no ser un dictador, porque eso no te lleva a ningún lado, pero sí tener esa cuestión de que todos son importantes. No hay un puesto, no hay una persona que no sea importante y no hay una persona o un puesto que no pueda agregar valor y por eso existe en la compañía. Entonces, el tú reconocerlo como líder y el tú identificar que eso es importante y darles su lugar en la empresa, eso creo que es muy valioso y creo que eso al final de cuentas hace que ellos trabajen con una energía mucho mayor y que todos trabajemos con una energía mayor y en un ambiente cordial, en donde no haya una política, pero una dirección clara de dónde quieres llegar, ¿no?
Okay, David, now let's change back to English, closing the personal part. It would be great if our audience can learn a bit about your company, William E. Connor. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the story, his
Okay. Yeah, so thank you. William E. Connor was established 73 years ago. Basically, it started in Japan, and the name is actually the name of the owner, the founder of the company, William E. Connor. Currently, the chairman and CEO is his son, which is William E. Connor II. He's actively working here, as a chairman CEO, basically directing the company, based as well in Hong Kong, even he travels a lot. Connor employs over 1,200 people and operates in more than 30 offices across 20 countries, representing multiple department stores, specialty retailers, brands, e-commerce, catalogs, companies, and manufacturers and importers, I would say. We have a business volume of around 1.2 billion annually, manufacturing at first cost. We have sourcing and developing more than 200,000 unique styles each year for multiple categories. Our main product categories are divided in two, I would say, which is a home category and apparel category, where being home, everything that fits into your home. So basically tables, furniture, tabletop, home decorative accessories, Christmas ornaments, etc. Everything that fits into your home. On the apparel side, without touching electronics, without touching industrial, without touching appliances and something like that. Everything for apparel is more for fashion accessories, everything you can wear. So from wallets, purses, clothing, activewear, whatever it is for that, for men's, kids, women, etc.
And your biggest market, sorry, David, you sell most in the US, correct?
Yeah, we sell mainly for the U.S. market. We don't sell; we represent, because we are not a trading company, and that's a big
Okay.
difference.
Okay, that's
So
important.
That's a big difference. We are not traders. We represent. We are the alter ego for clients, right?
Okay.
So
Never heard that
they,
expression. That's a good one. You are the
yeah,
alter ego of the clients. Okay, cool.
correct. So basically, we represent them here. So for them, instead of having a sourcing office in the markets where we have presence, basically we represent them there. So we are their sourcing operation, and we don't have any. That's also an important. We act with transparency, integrity, and ethics. We don't own any factory. We don't have any business other than the business relationship with the client and the factory. We don't basically promote anything there, in the sense like we represent the clients and only that interest. So the client is the one giving us the commission, I would say, for whatever we are working on, and the payment, I would say, of the transactional of the buying goods is directly from the client to the factory or the vendor. So that price, let's say, from the factory given to the client is the one that actually results in a PO.
So you're basically guys in charge of finding suppliers, developing, negotiating, sampling, a lot of quality control, especially in these categories you mentioned. You also in charge of shipping, for example, the logistics are from your side, or that's coordinated directly by the client?
Right. That the shipping is mainly coordinated by the client, because obviously, because of their operation, they try to buy everything FOB. I mean, for free on board in the different countries. And what it's happening is what we take care of is the supply chain management, I would say, from the finding of the vendors. So we have the vendor onboarding process, all the product development, price negotiation, sampling, and then pre-production, which is pre-production meetings, styles, information, packaging requirements, all the product requirements, etc. Then goes to production. When it goes inspections, we have our own inspectors in country, so we don't subcontract that portion. So basically, everything is controlled from our side. So then it's direct communication between the merchandising teams, the technical team, the QA team, all the way to when it's shipped. So we actually inspect every single style, every single PO. We have a final inspection that takes place from our team to release the goods and give that assurance, let's say, to the clients that the goods are properly done in country before being shipped.
Sure. Well, that's something we're going to talk soon when we go into the actual business side. I'm just curious, in regards to Connor specifically, how many countries do you source from?
Well, we have around, I mean, it's more than 20 as a country. I would say more than 20 countries that we source from, right? The offices that we have, they have, let's say, a ratio of lookout. I would say, for example, we have multiple offices in Southeast Asia, South Asia. We have 14 offices actively working as a full service office. When I say full service office, I'm talking about an office that includes, let's say, admin, merchandising, QA, etc. And then we have a QA centers where those are deployed depending on the needs. So we have as well in some of the countries, for example, to give you an example, the office might be in Vietnam, but we cover Cambodia, Myanmar with that and Malaysia from that particular office. We might have India, and then we have office, let's say, representation, just because it's a large country. We have in Delhi, but then we have an office in Jodhpur, and then we have an office in Tirupur, for example. Then we have in Europe as well. We have presence. We have in Portugal. We have Italy. We have in Turkey. And we are exploring to open more opportunities in Poland at the moment. So we cover the European bloc, I would say. We cover, I mean, South Asia, which is in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, and Pakistan. Then we cover Southeast Asia, which is Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, and what is missing? I think that's it. Vietnam. And then basically we cover this area, which is China centric, which is Taiwan, China, as North and South, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and then here in Hong Kong.
Sure. Before we start talking more about global sourcing, which is precisely a bit of what you mentioned, I'm just a bit curious because you said as you work with two main categories, home and apparel, I'm going to assume that you have many clients in the same category. So how do you handle the potential conflict of interest conflict of interest in a way, because I'm assuming several apparel companies source through you. So you obviously have information from these companies in advance and
Right.
how you negotiate with the factories in terms of, okay, you're representing one brand, but you might have better terms of negotiation when you're representing another one. Can you just explain to us a little bit on how that works?
Right. So, well, I would say the negotiation part and all that is pretty much controlled from the top. So we don't let the office, even though they have autonomy, they more are the execution offices, right? Then obviously before engaging with any client, we sign the proper NDAs, we have the proper, we sign the proper contracts advising us, I mean, what is going to be that we need to take care of. But the most important thing here is once we have a client, we start to form dedicated teams for that client, right? So then they can know the DNA of that client, understand what they need. So basically, we preempt them. Obviously, there is always a head that is looking after multiple clients, and those is more as a obviously leadership, coordination, etc. But eventually, we want to create those bubbles of business units, I would say, related to a particular client, where they can serve and give the proper advice and the proper importance. There is no small clients, there is no big clients as such, in the sense like the service should be the same. So we provide the same service for I would say a smaller client in volume, similar to a bigger client volume. The difference will be how many maybe people will be involved in the process, but the process itself is going to be the same, and the treatment will be basically the same. So we obviously take care of let's say, what you say in the conflict of interests. All the information is confidential. We don't share like that. We share best practices on the industry, which is different. I mean, and you learn that from different factories to factories. When you go into a factory, also for example, some of the showrooms, they will have locked the samples that are related to one client in one specific area, in another area the other client, and then even the factories also form independent teams for that, right? So okay, we take care of that, and we are very careful with that, because it's an important thing. And sometimes you think, well, how I'm sure that you are not sharing information with this other client about something that is confidential for me. So we are very careful to manage that from the top, to not to give as much information as the one that is needed, let's say, for the offices to operate. And we have client directors here in corporate, for example, are the ones that are the main point of contact with the clients. We have managing director for home and managing director for furniture, for apparel as well, where they are the leaders as a business unit, I would say, of the category, to control that and make sure that the information is disseminated in a proper way, where everyone is paying attention to not to have this kind of leakage or these kind of issues.
Good. That's super important. You mentioned trust. Now, in our business, in trading from our side, and alter ego of clients from your side, for sure, trust in this area is a cornerstone for any healthy business. Let's now take a step back, David, from William E. Connor, and just for the next 15 minutes or so, try to talk about something that might be helpful for all our audience, okay, in terms of global sourcing. Clearly, the world changes fast, especially these days, that the traditional places of manufacturing are moving. I'm talking about, the increase in labor costs and prices. The normal process of economic development of China is shifting things, especially, of course, in categories that are labor intensive. Former President Trump was a catalyst for this displacement of manufacturing or sourcing when he started a soft trade war with China. So all these things kind of influence, especially your business, in terms of global sourcing. So I'm curious about how does William E. Connor decide, or how do you scouted the world, if I may say, because, okay, in the 1800s, things were being made in England. Now most of things, certain categories are made in China. Now they're moving to Southeast Asia. Maybe some are already being made in Angola or Mozambique or South Africa. I'm wondering how is the strategy of William E. Connor to, if I may put it simply, to source? What do you look for when you start sourcing in a country and then in specific suppliers?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. I mean, in the sense like the constant is the change. So, and we need to be basically receptive to what the client's needs are. The first is to understand our clients, right? That will go to, okay, we need to understand, what do you need? Do you need low price, or do you need execution? I mean, 100% kind of right, if you want to call it like that. Do you need a certain aesthetics of the products that can only be found in certain markets? So all those type of questions will lead you to where to source that, right? I mean, if for example, if you, our main clients are from the US, if your tariffs are affecting you dramatically in certain country, so then how to move from that country to the other one? If your price of the raw material is more expensive in certain countries, so how we can help you to source from a different one? And again, I think the advantage that we have had on how to source is our foot on the ground, where basically the presence that we had, it helped us to source in a better way. I mean, a clear example, and I would say, is what happened with COVID. When COVID hit, I mean, everyone just started to shake. I mean, obviously, for obvious reasons, we all know that. I mean, we had pretty much done it, not here in China, still a problem in China, COVID, not for the rest of the world, but here. But that's also important. So then we continue dealing with that. But I would say the main thing was, for us, the presence that we had. So by having those offices in the country, it helped us to continue have visibility of what's going on and continue offering alternatives to the clients. And when they request us to ship something from one country to another, by us having that presence close to the market and not being, and even if you were in a lockdown, but in that market, you can still operate, that gives us a greater advantage. I think in the trade companies or sourcing other companies that are in the market where only, let's say we're doing it from China, for example, or from a different market where it was the only office but sourcing from multiple ones, they found it very, very difficult because they couldn't get information. They couldn't go there. They couldn't actually physically see it. So that combination, it helped us to do that. Now, many factors obviously affects. And again, it's just to find what is it that they are looking for a product, what they are looking for a factory, what they are looking in terms of price, on-time delivery, etc. in the global environment.
Because there's I read during COVID, this new, somebody coined this phrase, right? China plus one. That's the new strategy of, hey, look what's happening, as you well say, China is still struggling with their COVID zero or whatever the term they use. So it's become a need. Having an alternative in this crazy changing world is super important. So following that idea, what would you say are besides the obvious that you can move sourcing location fast, is there any other advantages to the idea of global sourcing, to be able to source from several countries?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, yes. So from different countries, you will have different advantages. For example, the skills of the workers, right? So whenever you are tackling something, that's what I'm saying. When you want quality, for example, you will learn global business skills, for example. So then you will start to learn what is China good for, what is Philippines good for, what is Thailand good for, what is Vietnam good for. So the skills and resources will give you as well efficiencies. So then you will start to gain as a company, because you may have in the global sourcing, and why you will go to global sourcing, just because, well, you want something better that you can get in your country eventually, right? And when I say better, it could be, again, it's low cost manufacturing just because maybe your country is importing a lot of stuff and it's just getting more expensive. You want to tap in on skills that you don't have in your own country, but you want to look at somewhere else. You basically want get away from the competitors in the sense like to have that advantages, right? There are many things that when you consider in a product. It says, for example, a lamp, you can have a lamp made in China, which is perfectly straight, but you can have a lamp made in Philippines, which is still, it's a natural lamp, right? With vines or something like that, that you can actually sell. So both are perfectly good quality. Both of them are good, but it's like the aesthetics of the product are very important. So that will start to, with those, knowing those skills, knowing that global sourcing, and that's why the global world, I mean, it's not to be in one country. One country, it's just not, you're just transferring, let's say, to one location, but the globality of that is what makes the difference, I would say, for the people that is hiring us, to have that presence and all that, right?
Yeah, you say presence, David, and that's an important thing that I would like to learn your opinion. You can start sourcing from countries where you that don't necessarily have a physical presence. You can take trips, you can move there, send your quality manager, maybe even outsource quality inspections to someone or another company. Is there a point where you feel, and I'm not asking you to give me a specific number, but I'm just curious on how does a company like yours decide, okay, this geography has become important enough to set a base there, which probably we will end up doing in places like Africa, which is probably the next field to explore. How does one decide, okay, now we need to be there because we need our eyes? Is it a matter just of volume, specific category, a particular supplier? How do you make the decision?
Yeah, I would say the first source of information are our clients, because they are the ones seeing what the customer needs are, let's say, because we're in the retail business, right? In the sense. So, for example, a client comes and say, look, I want to look for, I don't know, low MOQs production, right? I want to look for this type of product, etc. So we might not have that in our network, for example, right? We might not have that country or that specific product or that interest in our network. But how would look for that? The clients will not dictate, but set up the pace that also will say, well, what about, have you explored Africa? Have you explored here? I saw in this other, I don't know, expos, in Ambiente, in other areas where we found new vendors. Can you explore that for me? Can you explore this market? I found interesting product there that you can go and have a look. So then we start to gather that information, and then we start, for example, and just to give you Poland, we didn't know, we started to explore that operation for the furniture business, and we realized that Poland is the second largest exporter in the world for furniture. I didn't know that. I mean, it was like shocking knowing that it's the second largest when you think about China, when you think about Vietnam, when you think about these countries that are doing it. And then again, it's just, and how we end up there? Well, obviously, because they start to have more presence with certain clients in Europe, but also with the exposure that with the other clients. So then it's the mouth to mouth and how they actually start to give us that information. Then we start to explore. Once we start to explore, we start to evaluate. As you said, we send people in the country. We send to evaluate the factories in the sense to do a quick assessment, is the right thing, and then we start to give advice. There is no, I would say, there is not a perfect solution or a perfect answer or recipe to follow, but to continue exploring, to be with the open eyes. Product, in our case, product, it's everything. Product. I mean, like an innovation, creativity, and all that goes along with that. Where if we, and that's why the client directors, the merchandisers, and everything, when they are traveling, they found new stuff, and then they obviously start to investigate. They get information from the industry. They get what is happening. The economies as well dictates a lot. What is inflation? What is this? What is that? So that is just to present all the time, again, the best option for clients and represent.
Fantastic, David. It's great. I relate to what you're saying. It's wonderful information. I'm sure we could speak hours about this. I didn't remember that well that you were so much into quality at one time. So I'd like to invite you already for another session in which we can debate how to address the natural conflict between selling and quality, and the push from the commercial side of the company and the quality side, which are always in a, let's say, in a friendly battle. To finish, David, I said at the beginning of the interview that we would do this questionnaire, which I think is fun. You were telling me before we started taping that I put you in a difficult position, having to think answers to these weird questions. But let's just go for it and see what happens. Okay, it's a nice way to finish. So, David Castro, what is your favorite?
Spanish or in English still?
You choose. You choose. Now you can go English or Spanish. It's fine. Let's do it. Okay, David, what is your favorite word?
Well, I think my favorite word would be love.
Love. Okay. What is your least favorite word?
Impossible. Nothing is impossible if you want to do it.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
I think. Wow, that's so. You made me think on that one a lot. I would say being alive, because I will expand on that or elaborate in the different stages of your life. You have, I would say, you can answer different that question. But where I am now, I mean, with the kids and the family and everything, I think that emotion and being alive and be present, that turns me on, let's say.
Great. What turns you off?
I think being negative, I mean, like when you have a lot of negative stuff coming in, I mean, it's like you just put in whoever, call it a people, call it situations and everything. That's just, it motivates you, and at the end of the day, you just go south, I would say.
Okay, this is a fun one. What is your favorite curse word? And don't worry, we're gonna bleep it or beep it or whatever the term is. So go for it, my friend.
So I would say pendejo.
Fantastic. If anything, you got a chance to curse in a professional environment, so that's cool. What sound or noise do you love?
The waves of the sea. That I love.
What sound or noise do you hate?
I don't know. My kids screaming to me.
At least I know you're being truthful. That's good. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
It's never. They say it never is too late, but I always wanted to be an architect, though. So, yeah, that would be one.
You live in a good place then for that in Hong Kong. Huh? What profession would you not like to do ever?
Oof. That is not a bad profession at all, but I don't know, maybe a doctor, just because with the blood, I'm not that good with that stuff.
Okay. And the last one, David, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Maybe, welcome, my son.
Lovely. Thank you so much, David. It was not only interesting, but entertaining. And I honestly hope, because I truly think we could speak about these issues for hours, and I'm very sure there were questions that our audience would have that we have not addressed. So maybe, who knows, since I really enjoyed this, and I think you did too, in a couple of months, we can try another go at it. So I would just like to close by thanking Belia Trading for creating the Tradecast. I would just to say goodbye from Latin America and have a successful day.
Thank you.